Welcome, writers, readers, and friends to the Authors Talking Bookish podcast. I'm Donna Norman Carbone, author of All That Is Sacred.
And I'm Hope Gibbs, author of Where the Grass Grows Blue.
We're two debut writers traditionally published by a small publishing house, bringing to you all the experiences that we as authors learn the hard way, so you don't have to.
We'll give you insights from the inception of a book idea to publication and beyond. And along the way, we'll share our love of books from the writer's perspective.
Welcome back, friends. It's episode 59, and today we're talking about 10-minute pitch events. Our episode is called Pitch Perfect, How to Sell Your Story in Minutes. I'm Donna Carbone, and I'm joined by Hope Gibbs. Hi, Hope. How are you today?
I'm great, Donna. How are you?
I am doing well. Loving this fall weather.
Yes, we finally have color here. I felt like it was a little late this year, but first week of November, the leaves started changing. So I've actually loved seeing all the colors and getting to be outside. So yeah, I love this time of year.
You know, our leaves turned a little late this year too, but they're almost all gone at this point.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, they've almost nearly fallen.
Oh,
But,
no, we're definitely in peak season here right now.
oh, wow. Wow. So you're like a whole month behind us.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah,
mean, it makes sense. I'm pretty far south compared to Connecticut.
right.
So
Yeah, I know. I do love this season though. I've already started my Christmas shopping and I'm planning for Thanksgiving.
yeah.
So, what are you doing for
I
Thanksgiving?
can only see Thanksgiving right now. I can't
Yeah.
even think Christmas. Are you fixing Thanksgiving yourself this year?
Yeah, I do. I'll probably have about 20 people this year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is
How
it
about
is it
you?
a buffet? Does everyone bring something? A potluck?
So it's not a potluck. I do almost everything. My mom will bring the pies. She is like the resident pie maker in our family. Um, and yeah, it's going to have to be a buffet because I'm going to be putting people at two different tables, my dining room, my kitchen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be fun. And then the night after, we get together with extended family and have a party, like a game night at my sister's house. They have a pool table and we play games, we drink, we have appetizers. It's a lot of fun.
I love that. I love a game night. You give me Trivia Pursuit or Telestrations or Pictionary, and I am there. I love games.
Yeah. So what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Cooking.
Yeah.
So it used to be my kids, I guess, have gotten so used to my recipes, which were my grandmother's recipes. And a couple of times we've gone out for Thanksgiving when we've been on vacation and they are just like, we want to be home.
Yeah.
So I will pretty much make everything myself from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
There's something about the tradition of those staple Thanksgiving dishes that everybody looks forward to.
so what is your one staple Thanksgiving dish?
Um, Popovers. I make
Oh,
popovers with honey butter. That's something that I make every year. Everybody loves it.
oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever had a popover, but it sounds
Oh my God, they're
lovely.
so light and fluffy, and the
Oh,
honey butter is, oh, to die for. It's delicious.
oh, that sounds
I
delicious.
actually, put my recipe for it in my latest newsletter, so you can
Oh,
find it there.
okay.
Yeah.
So is it hard? Is it a hard recipe? It sounds
No, but you
difficult.
should have a popover pan. You could make them in muffin tins, but a popover pan lets you make them much deeper, and the
Okay.
deeper they are, the lighter and fluffy they are.
Well, I
Yeah,
will have to try that.
yeah, yeah,
I
it's a
usually
good
don't make
recipe.
bread. If I make bread, I make biscuits, which I'm not even
Yeah,
sure if you can consider biscuits bread, but anyway.
yeah.
So what's been going on in the world of reading for you? What are you reading this month?
So I am in the middle of one of my favorite authors' new books, Mitch Albom. It's called Twice, and it's about a young boy who discovers the ability to have a do-over for everything. So if he doesn't like the way something turns out, he could go back in time and do the whole experience over, but he can only do everything twice. So sometimes the second time around doesn't turn out the way he expected, and he wished he'd stayed with the first time. So it's a
Oh my
really
God.
interesting read.
Did it just come out?
Yeah, it just came out. Yeah,
Oh,
just like weeks ago.
love that.
Yeah, I love anything Mitch Albom.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. And again, I think we've talked about this. I remembered him from the sports reporters on ESPN years
Yeah.
ago. It used to be one of my favorite shows because I would watch it when I would get ready for church on Sundays. And that was my first experience with him as a sports writer on ESPN.
Yeah. And that's also how he started his writing career too,
Yeah,
from that perspective. Yeah.
I
So
like
what are
that.
you reading?
So this is a little outside the box because this is Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway. And I absolutely love Scott Galloway. He has a podcast, and this is obviously nonfiction. I read his book last year on I think it was The Algebra of Wealth. And it is fascinating how he talks about what it's like to be a young man in, the world today. And I saw him on Morning Joe a few weeks ago, and even my husband was like listening to him and talking about how when women turn, like when a woman is single, okay,
Yeah.
she really kind of turns into her friends or other relationships. And the same can't be said of today's men. They turn to different things that can be destructive, and talking about how social media has really disrupted masculinity and what it feels like to be a man, and how remote work is not great because you make those connections at work. And
Yeah.
he's fascinating. If you have a chance, look him up on Instagram or look him up his podcast. He is amazing, and I highly recommend this book.
Yeah. As a mother of sons, it seems
Yes.
like a good book to read.
Yes, 100%. And
Yeah.
the things that he says, things have changed so much in 30 years, and a lot of it is because of social media. And
Yeah.
and it's the value. We're not valuing our young men the way that again, we've kind of the pendulum has gone back and forth, and it's just amazing. I cannot explain it, but trust me, if you have sons or you have daughters or you don't, it just
Mm.
helps you understand our society a little bit better.
Huh. Interesting.
So, well, let's shift gears and let's talk
Okay.
about why we're here today. So, tell us about this episode.
Sure, I would love to. So Hope and I both participated in pitch events, and we thought we could bring the experience to you and talk about how we prepared, what the event was like, and what you can get out of it.
Yeah. And it is a great way to make connections with agents that you might not ordinarily have. Because, when you're sending out your queries and you're sending out your letters and your manuscript through the computer, sometimes it can get lost in the shuffle. But having the opportunity, even if it's just 10 minutes, to sit face to face or like on a computer screen, because that's what mine was. Mine were virtual events because of COVID.
Mhm.
Um, it can really give you a leg up, whether or not you get a partial or you get a request. But it is a great way to get you ready for when your book does get out in the world and maybe you're going to be on a podcast or you're being interviewed. It's a great skill to have.
Yeah. Let's talk about our own personal experiences before we dive into like the prep work. Um, how did How did you come upon the pitch event that you attended?
I came upon it right when I sent out my first round of letters to agents,
Mhm,
and it was through a Tennessee writing conference.
mhm,
And at that point, I was like, well, yeah, I would love to go to this conference, but it was also post COVID where these conferences were now virtual.
yeah,
So I signed up, and it was the whole day. So it wasn't just the pitch event.
mhm,
So I went to all these little virtual classes and whatnot, but then you could do virtual pitches. And so
mm,
I selected five
mhm,
agents that I wanted to pitch to. And luckily, I got 4 requests and I got 1 full request out. I got partials and full request out of it. And it was
mhm,
just, it was great. It let me know, like, especially I could tell by the cues, like with when I gave them my elevator pitch, and
Mhm.
you can see the nodding, or you could see that,
Mhm.
okay, you got the visual cues. And for me, that was very helpful. And one of my events, pitches had to be postponed. And so
Mhm.
I had to do it literally when I was moving my son into Georgia in the car, outside
Oh
of his
my
dorm room.
goodness.
Yes, and I had to explain that. And so it was also great
Talk
because
about adding a whole level of stress.
yes, but she was a mother, so she understood it, and she was like,
Yeah.
"I've had it. I've heard enough. If you're doing this, if you're that committed, send me your manuscript." And she gave me some great feedback.
Oh,
So
good.
that was my experience. What about you, Donna?
So mine was similar. It was a Connecticut writers conference, and
Hmm.
that it was in person. And so ahead of time, we got the whole lineup of agents that were going to be there, and I selected 3 of them that represented my genre, and did some research. One of them had been on my list as like one of my ultimate agent choices. Um, but yeah, I did some research and I went to the event, and I was so nervous, like so
Yeah.
incredibly nervous. And, but I felt well prepared and I had some good conversations. And like you, I think the nonverbal feedback was
Hmm.
probably the best part of the entire experience. Because, like you said, you write these query letters and you send them off, and you never really know. Sometimes you never even get a response from an
Yeah.
agent. Um, but here you could tell immediately where there was interest, where there wasn't interest. It was interesting to me because one of them, I felt like I was doing all the talking, and the other two were really more of a conversation.
Hmm.
And those were the two, actually all 3 of them requested my book, but the one that I didn't have any like feedback from in the moment, she never even sent any kind of rejection at all.
Yeah.
Whereas the other 2, one of them asked for the full book, and ultimately led to rejections for both of them. But the one who asked for the full, she emailed me like 3 times during the whole process and
Oh,
was
wow.
giving me feedback. So
Yeah.
I thought that that was really beneficial as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what this is. What is a 10-minute pitch? So, it's usually, like we said, it's hosted at a writers conference, or with me, an online event. Writers meet with agents and editors in short, very scheduled sessions, and it's not just about you and the manuscript. It's also about you as a writer. Are you professional? Your ability to communicate your story clearly. And that's the other thing. Before you go into this event, preparation is key, because you don't want, yeah, it's so hard to say, well, tell me about your book in 3 sentences or a sentence, because you're
Mhm.
like, oh, my book is this, it's all, you want to tell them all the details. You can't. You really have to focus in on that pitch, and you need to know it. You don't need to be looking at your notes to
Yeah.
say it is one. No, you need to know it like the back of your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially to give the pitch experience a conversation, which I think is so important. I even say that about interviews too. When you go to an interview, it's better to turn it into a conversation than you just talking the whole time.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think my experience, it felt like speed dating to me, where you're trying to get all this information into a finite amount of time. And I do think that that's where the preparation comes in handy. I think it's essential, really. So you want to put together like a 30-second pitch, a 1-sentence elevator pitch. We actually did a show about this. How to do an elevator pitch in episode 19, I believe. No, it was 42. Um,
Good memory.
and what?
I said good memory.
I know. I'm like thinking there's actually a couple of crossovers in this episode to other episodes. That's why it's so important, I think, especially if you're a new listener, to kind of take a look at our back catalog, because we do kind of revert back to, previous things that we talked about. So we did talk about how to make an elevator pitch. So that is a must. Also, like a 2 to 3 sentence summary of your book, not your whole book jacket summary.
Yeah.
But try to, whittle that down a little bit, your book jacket summary. And also, you want to give a brief bio about yourself, who you are as an author, and try to think about what is the message that you try to convey throughout your works, like across your works. What is that one thread? Like for me, it's that your future is not based on your past, that you can change your future, if you're open to changing yourself. Some other things that I think are important too is to be ready to share some comp titles about your book and target audience. Those were questions that were asked of me. Were those things that you found as well, Hope?
Well, 100%. I mean, the first thing they want to know is your genre,
Yeah.
because that's the other thing that we're going to talk about in a second is you need to be prepared. Don't pitch a author who strictly deals with memoirs or is, for me, Southern romance, women's fiction, someone who exclusively does sci-fi. So that's part of the preparation. And yes, I wanted to present myself. And another thing is I dressed the part. I did my makeup, I did my hair. I wore a nice outfit because I wanted to show them that I was going to take this seriously. And, we said it in the last graphic, they're looking for professionalism. And because, I don't care where you sign, you still have to sell your book. And, as we've talked about it in many podcasts, it's a lot of putting yourself out there. So what we were saying is, agents are looking for market awareness, like you said. They also are looking for, do they want to work with you long term? But I think still in that moment, in that pitch, it's your story. Is it compelling?
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to kind of add on to what you said about being professional, it's like making that first impression is important, that you are a professional writer and that you take yourself and you take your work seriously. But
Yeah.
like Hope said, it's the story that they're looking for sure.
Yeah. And how to prepare? Donna, how do you prepare for this?
So I think the first thing you want to do, something that I did was I researched the agents who were on the lineup to see if the books that they sold and what they were looking for most closely aligned with me. One thing that I can refer you back to is episode 19. We talk about various ways to research agents that you're pitching to. And you're going to research agents that you're pitching to, whether it's a 10-minute pitch event or whether you're querying them at home. And it's so important that you know some personal details about each agent so you can kind of speak to that and say, I know you represent such and such an author who writes books like I do. Just so they know that you've done your homework and that you want them, you're selecting them just as much as you want them to select you.
Yeah. So another thing is some more preparation keys. Practice, as we say earlier, but you've got to stay natural. One way to do this is maybe rehearse out loud so you're comfortable and concise. I did it in front of a mirror just to help myself because you want to avoid sounding scripted. You want it to be, conversational, as we also said. But also bring materials. If you're in person, I was not in person. But bring your query letter and the first pages just in case that they say, hey, let me take a look now. And also bring a notebook and a pen or something where you can possibly take notes. Because for me, I was so nervous that when they said, yes, I want a partial, and then I'm sitting there having to write exactly what they want, because as we've said in other episodes, every agent is different. Some may want it this way, some want it, So you've got to pay attention. You've got to have something there to help you because you will be nervous. I don't care who you are. You're going to be nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, one way that I rehearsed was I asked my husband to be my audience.
Ooh.
And he gave me feedback, which was really
Oh,
nice. And then after I felt like I was polished, I did it with a colleague, just to kind of see if I can kind of transfer. And that was really beneficial.
yeah.
And like you said, speaking in front of a mirror so you know what you sound like, what you
Yeah.
look like when you're pitching is
And
important.
another thing is I wouldn't wait until like 3 or 4 days before. I prepared because I knew I was doing this for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. I prepared, and then I stepped away from it.
Yeah.
And then I came back to it just a couple of days before. That way, my mind wasn't so like jumbled. And again, you don't want to sound rehearsed and scripted, but you also want to know what you're talking about. And I know some of you are probably saying, "Well, it's your book, you should know." But you can get tongue tied when you know that there's a stake as big as possibly getting an agent for your book.
Oh, absolutely. I have a question for you. Did you script yours out?
100%.
Yeah, I did as
But
well.
I left it where
Hmm.
if there was an interruption for a question, it wouldn't throw me off.
Yeah.
I knew that I could pivot, and then if they asked me a question, because I had it all, in my mind that way. I'd never looked at a note.
Yeah,
Um,
same.
and so the first part was very scripted. I knew that part, but then when
Mhm.
they were ready to ask me the questions, and I prepared for what do I think that they might ask? Like, what would I
Yeah,
ask if I was
yeah,
in their shoes?
yeah.
So what about you? You same thing?
Yes, I did exactly the same thing, and I
Yeah.
also kind of chunked it out. So, like, elevator pitch, then I had my summary, then I
Yes.
had some information about myself as an author, and then I had, the details, the word count, the genre, the target
Yes. Oh,
audience, the
word
comps.
count. Yes, you need to have your word
Yeah,
count.
yeah,
Um,
yep.
so let's talk about this. Let's pivot to this. Donna, how can you use the pitch to your advantage?
Well, I think by asking questions, and for those of you who are listening, there is a list of questions on our show notes. I won't go through all of them, but questions like how much are you involved in the editing process, and what's your communication style? Um, how do you handle subsidiary rights like film and foreign rights, etc. By writing those questions down ahead of time and making those part of what you're memorizing for your pitch, I think that is the thing that's going to turn this into kind of an interview,
Yeah.
into a conversation.
Yeah. And then finally, remember, this is something that I think is the most important thing is how you handle feedback gracefully. If the agent passes, you could ask what didn't connect because that feedback is gold. And if they request pages, follow up, be prompt and professional. But also remember to be gracious because, again, you've got to look at this as it's a business. This isn't personal. They may actually really like your story, but they realize that they don't have it won't fit in what they're doing right now, or maybe they have a project that's similar.
Mhm.
Be professional with rejection. When I got the rejection from the one, he basically said, "Yeah, I really don't do women's fiction," even though it said it on the
Mhm.
listing. And he also told me, he was like, "Yeah, you should never have a book over 75,000 words." And mine was 92. So, I thanked him for his time. Shockingly, he went over my 5 minute or my 10-minute pitch. He talked to me for 20 minutes.
Wow.
But again, I didn't, whine. I didn't, cry. It was just like, well, thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the people that I pitched to, she did request my book, but we had a conversation and we kind of went over as well. And I just felt like that one more than the others, I felt like she really got to know me because it was much more conversational. It felt like we were both sitting down having a cup of coffee, talking about books. And she actually gave me a really good comp for the book that I hadn't even considered.
Oh,
And so I ended up using that comp moving forward. So I benefited in that way as well.
yeah. Just
Yeah,
the simple, I know it sounds simple, but comps threw me off so much. And if someone had given me that advice, that's gold right there.
yeah,
Even though you didn't get, maybe start working with that agent, she gave you something valuable. And so any little piece of, critique, that's valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
well, this has been so much fun talking about this. And, as I always like to say, is our teacher, what is our due now from this episode, Donna?
So, our due now for this episode is to script your pitch, practice it, rehearse it in front of other people, edit what seems unnatural, and then look for a conference so you can engage in a pitch event and put yourself out there. It's scary.
Yes.
I'm not going to say that it isn't, but I will tell you it is one of the more worthwhile things that I did through my whole querying process. I got a lot out of it. I became more confident about querying as a result of it. And I think that you will as well.
Yeah. And Donna, real quick, what is our next episode?
So our next episode, we are going to talk about tension and conflict and writing them into our stories, what the difference is between them, and how to get the most out of using them.
Oh, I can't wait for that. And as always, guys, you can find us at our website, authorstalkingbookish.com. We're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Instagram. Come on over to Instagram and give us a follow. And thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. I'm Hope Gibbs.
And I'm Donna Norman Carbone. It's time for you to get to work.
We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks with another tip from your author friends.